Welcome to today's news on TV9. I'm Ada Cho. In today's local news, a train incident happened in Mount Eden Monday morning involving a pedestrian. The government has announced a new policy that newborns will have to enrol with GPs at the birthing units, while plans for repairing the Victoria Wharf has been confirmed and Prime Minister shuns the water ownership claims by the Maoris. Police and emergency services were caught in incidents involving a pedestrian and a passenger train at Mount Eden Monday morning. Keisha has more.
At approximately 8:50 Monday morning, an incident has went down right behind me where a passenger train has hit a pedestrian. This man has been sent to hospital in a serious condition. The barrier-controlled intersection of Porters Avenue and New North Road, Mount Eden, is the scene of the accident. From what we understand at this stage is that the barrier was functional at the time and passengers on the commuter train was transported by bus. All train services have returned to normal just a few hours after the incident. Investigations are underway and we'll have new developments in a couple of days. Kay Chow, 9 News.
The government is targeting to see 95% of 8-month-olds fully immunised by December 2014. So this month, the Health Minister Tony Rao has announced a new enrolment policy that allows all newborns to be enrolled at the birthing units. Kay Chow has more.
Health Minister Tony Rao announced on 6th of July that a new enrolment policy will be in place to make sure that newborns are starting their immunisation program on time.
When babies are enrolled, the nurse can then sort of remind parents, say if they don't come for their first injection or immunization at 6 weeks, then we've got a track record that we can sort of contact the parents to remind them.
Only fewer than half of the newborns are enrolled with the GP at 12 weeks, when babies are due for their first immunisation at 6 weeks of age. Nationally, 92% of New Zealand children are fully immunised by age 2.
6 weeks, so they will normally get their various vaccines, including whooping cough, diphtheria, polio, hepatitis B, etc. at 6 weeks, and then the next one after that will be 3 months.
Under the new enrolment policy, GP practices will enter newborns into their patient database as soon as they are nominated as the baby's GP by parents at the birthing unit, rather than waiting to enrol them at their first doctor's appointment, as currently happens. Kay Chow, 9 News.
The Maori Council yesterday initiated an urgent hearing at the Waitangi Tribunal over Maori customary rights and interest in water and geothermal resources. The Council wants to halt National's privatisation programs until ownership issues are resolved. But Prime Minister John Key says the government will not be bound by the Tribunal's decisions. Chrissy Jai reports.
An urgent hearing was started yesterday at the Waitangi Tribunal over claims brought on by the Maori Council. The hearing has been fast-tracked because of National's partial asset sales program, and the Maori claims they own the water in hydro and thermal power stations operated by the energy companies. Prime Minister John Key has stated that nobody owns the water, and he says the government is not bound by the tribunal's recommendation.
The government will consider the Waitangi Tribunal recommendation and we'll act in good faith, but we're not bound legally to follow that ruling, nor are we actually bound to give a response to the Waitangi Tribunal.
Key acknowledges that litigation risks brought on by the Maori Council could slow up the privatisation process, but when asked whether the government would offer Maori any shares in the power companies as a form of redress, Key's attitude is adamant.
No, I mean not as a result of the Maori Council bid. I mean we've made it clear that iwi are like other New Zealanders. We'd like them to be involved if they want to. We're certainly going to favour them in terms of having them at the front of the queue. We know that they're long-term purchases and they may well get an allocation, but they'd have to buy that allocation at normal commercial rates like anybody else.
Shares in Mighty River Power, the first energy company to go up for sale, are expected to be offered by September. The Maori Council says it's hoping to enter talks with the government. Christy Zhao, 9 News.
The Victoria Wharf next to Devonport's ferry terminal was closed last year due to risk of structural failure. It's now confirmed with the $6 million repair budget from the Auckland Council, even though the figure was originally put at $10 million. Chrissy Jai has more.
The Victoria Wharf has been around since 1929, but last year it was closed to the public because of concerns over its structural integrity. Most of its concrete surface was damaged, and there were fears that some parts were too corroded to take the weight of crowds. But after some confusion with the allocation of funding during the Super City transition, the council has now finally confirmed a budget of $6 million for the repair job.
The issue that we've got right now is that the structural integrity of this wharf is failing, and it's been failing for some time, and it's at a stage where it's serious.
The Devonport Takapuna Local Board originally asked for $10 million from the Auckland Council to restore all the decks, beams and piles, but because of economic reality, only $6 million was provided in the end. Local Board Chairman Chris Darby says the budget doesn't necessarily mean the job would be half done.
Our consultants said that really a ballpark of around about $10 million was required, plus 5% and up to minus 25% as we started to move into a more refined analysis. So minus 25 would take us to around about 7.5. Now we've managed to secure 6.
Darby says the wharf is an integral part of the Devonport ferry area, providing support to emergency, deliveries and utility services. It's also a popular fishing and sightseeing spot for many locals. The project is currently going through early stages of rescoping, with tendering processes due to start in the short term. Christy Zhao, 9 News.
A secret war is going on and the future of science is at stake. The raging battle over the definition of kilogram can make us lose current understanding related to the term. Scientists have crafted 2 new definitions for the common units of mass. The fight to pick up the best one is getting nasty. Keisha has more.
Given the evolution of our knowledge regarding the atomic nature of matter, many researchers believe a more precise definition of the measurement of mass is needed. In 2005, scientists from the US National Institute of Standards and Technology, along with collaborators in Europe, pointed the way towards 2 possibilities, the Planck kilogram and the atomic kilogram. The atomic kilogram is defined by the mass of approximately 370 million cubed carbon-12 atoms. The Planck kilogram, however, is much more complicated. The definition involves a working knowledge of quantum mechanics and special relativity, a massive and expensive piece of machinery, and considerable skill in mathematics. While the atomic kilogram is much easier for people to visualize and to teach, but the International Committee for Weights and Measures has nominated to adopt the Planck kilogram definition. Without a fight, the Planck kilogram will win by default. This certainly opens opportunities for debate, where science professors and teachers can actively participate in determining the scientific legacy we leave to the next generation. Kay Chow, 9 News.
That's all for local news today. Moving on to Asian news. Chinese authorities busted 2 major child trafficking operations. 802 people were arrested last week, while 181 children have been saved. CNN reports, according to statements from the country's Public Security Ministry, the raids began on last Monday evening, covering 15 provinces, including Shandong, Hebei, Sichuan, Fujian, Henan and Yunnan, involving over 10,000 police officers. China's one-child policy and its adoption laws have been blamed by the critics as contributing factors to child trafficking, which remains a prominent problem in China. According to the 2010 census, China has an increasing gender imbalance, with 118.08 males for every 100 females. Customs officials in Hong Kong have hauled a cocaine shipment weighing close to 650 kilograms with an estimated street value of $98 million, which they say is the largest drug haul ever. The Customs Drug Investigation Bureau of Hong Kong said the drugs arrived in a container from Ecuador, hiding under plenty of recycled plastic materials. 3 local men have been arrested by authorities. Last September, Hong Kong made a record haul of cocaine shipments, seizing almost half a ton of cocaine with a street value of around $77 million, 21 million less than this time. A 14-year-old ban on lesbians donating blood has been lifted by the Chinese Ministry of Health, which is taking into effect on July the 1st. According to CNN, men who are celibate homosexuals are also permitted to give blood, but sexually active homosexuals still need to obey the ban with a fear of spreading HIV and AIDS. Several other changes were among the new regulations, including increasing the amounts donated from 200 ml to 400 ml, raising the age limits to 60, and shortening the required period of time between donations. The Japanese government is planning to buy disputed islands in the East China Sea from private landowners. The move has been dismissed by Chinese governments, warning necessary measures would be taken to safeguard its sovereignty. The uninhabited islands in the East China Sea are known as Senkaku in Japan and Diaoyu in China, which are regarded as potentially gas-rich territory. According to Reuters, Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihiko Noda told reporters that his government was in contact with the landowner about buying the islands when the lease expires in 2013. In 2008, Beijing and Tokyo had reached an agreement on jointly gas developing on the fields near the islands, but the progress has been slow. HTC, the Taiwanese smartphone maker, has reported a 58% decline in its net profits to $248 million in the second quarter ending in June. HTC's major markets was mainly in Asia's developing economies. HTC sells most of its products at the lower, less profitable end of the markets. Peter Zhou, HTC's chief executive, hopes the scheduled launch of the new phones in the next 6 months could make sales and profits rebound. Reports said that its rival Samsung, due to the success of Galaxy smartphones, the expected profits was up to 79% in the second quarter. That's all for our Asian news today. Let's take a short break and we'll be back shortly.